The Atlanta Falcons had an opportunity to take a stranglehold of on the NFC South. We are joined by Fox 5's Miles Garrett. Miles, talk me off the ledge here. Falcons 6-7. I think their playoff odds. I looked at a percentage. I think it was like 28%. Was going to be 85% if they had won. Now 28%. Lose a huge game. Really feel like a game that they should have won yesterday. Talk me off the ledge, Miles.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're speaking for a lot of Falcons fans, really. I mean, this is a game that the Falcons should have won and had in their grasp the entire time. I mean, the defense, given all the injuries that they've had, you don't have Grady Jarrett in there. His replacement gets hurt as well. You've had the losses in the linebacking core, all that kind of stuff. Clark Phillips even comes in and has a pretty big game there in the secondary. I think you might see a lot more of him coming in for Jeff Okudah in the future. But yeah, long story short, the defense has a pretty good game outside of that one drive at the very end. But again, the storyline is the offense. I mean, Desmond Ridder and the turnovers. This has been the main issue all season long. And I've said this multiple times. You see so many moments from him where you see what they're talking about. Like you see 3 or 4 plays where you're like, okay, like this is a starting quarterback. Like this is a throw that he should be making. I think there was one throw he made to Drake London where Drake dropped that he kind of put it into a basket there. But the turnovers, and it's just that they come at the worst times. I mean, you have that one where they come inside the 5-yard line. He starts at the 6 and it ends up being a safety. A few plays later, he fumbles again. He picks it up. There's the 2 should be interceptions that he has as well that weren't interceptions in addition to the other one that he had. So it's just a whole bunch of the same mistakes that we've been seeing over and over. Now, as far as talking you off a ledge is concerned, they can still win this division. It's still the worst division in football. They still have a very, very, very easy remaining slate. You face off against the worst team in football this upcoming Sunday, having their own struggles. And then you've got the game against the Chicago Bears, another team that's not doing very well this season. So you've got winnable games here. It's just a matter of putting it together at the right time. You want to be Mr. Sunshine with this team, but it's been the same record that they've had the last few seasons at this point. So you're hoping that some changes occur. It's just you're seeing sort of the same mistakes over and over.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, and the Bucs, speaking in a positive light, the Bucs have a difficult schedule. They hold the tiebreaker over the Falcons when it comes to the conference. And they still have to play the Packers, who are, kind of hitting their stride right now. So things aren't all doom and gloom for the Falcons, though that we can sit here and not be satisfied with the product we saw on Sunday. To your point, there is hope. That they can still go out and, win this division and host a playoff game. Whoever wins the division is probably going to be a lamb to slaughter for the Cowboys or the Eagles, whoever loses that division. But for this franchise, it doesn't really matter. Like, that's a successful season, just getting to the postseason. I do want to second some of the things you said. That's how you can describe this Falcons offense. Inconsistent at best. You see bright flashes like you were talking about. Ridder dropped it in a bucket to Drake London, and he can't hold on to it. And then he has, mind-numbing mistakes where you're going, he's in our own end zone, holding on to the ball far too long, and that's an experience thing that he's obvious. You hope he never does that again. And then he drives the length of the field, helps Falcons take the lead. And then the defense, which has, been so good for this entire season, squanders the lead late after forcing several 3-and-outs in the second half, giving the offense every opportunity to go on and take the lead. It's just frustrating to watch this team every Sunday when you don't know what the product you're going to get. What you can count on is inconsistency. So talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, and it's almost like they don't know which identity they want to be, because it seems like the last 2 years it's been that ground and pound run game mentality that they've really dominated at. I mean, that's been their bread and butter the last 2 years. It's really been the passing game that hasn't really been. I mean, I guess you could argue the first year with Matt Ryan, they did rely upon that quite a bit with Kyle Pitts putting up the numbers he put up. But this year was supposed to be more of that balance, and it seems like every game this year, it's sort of like, oh, okay, look, they're coming out trying to pass now. It seems like this is what they're going for in that game. And then, it's a slow day from Bijan, or then it's another game where Bijan just goes off, like we saw, I think, last week, where it was kind of the run game galore. All 3 guys went off. It was Patterson. It was Algier at the end. It was Bijan at the beginning. Whereas yesterday, it seemed like the running game was either they didn't go all in on it, or they what they were dialing up wasn't really working. And then they just had a bunch of dropbacks for Dez, and the situation seemed a little odd. Like I said, I mean, the fumble by Dez in the end zone specifically. I mean, he's a guy who's struggling in that area. Why are you going to do a play like that where he's dropping back into his own end zone and having the pressure to kind of wait for a play to develop? And I know you can kind of count that. I know some folks are talking about maybe a quarterback's coach or offensive coordinator. These are all valid concerns. I mean, it's you lose Charles London this past offseason. He's looked like it might be a bigger loss than it could be anticipated. So, I mean, all these things you got to take into account, which may be a reason for the inconsistency. It's just weird because, you know, like you said, you don't know which Falcons team you're going to get every Sunday. And they say they're going to fix the problem every week, but we end up seeing the exact same problems every single week, specifically when it comes to these turnovers and really the play calling. I mean, it was encouraging to see Drake London and Kyle Pitts get involved a lot more this past Sunday. I know Kyle's been dealing with more of, you know, his injury, trying to get back from that, but Drake has a career day, which was extremely encouraging, but it's just weird. You know, you can never count on consistency, really. I mean, like I said, the theme's inconsistency. So that's really been what's been going on with this team.
I'll back Arthur Smith a little bit here as far as the play calling. I didn't love the play calling on that drop back in the end zone that resulted in the safety. Obviously, Ritter's got to have a better, time clock in his head and can't hang on to the ball in that situation. But I talked a lot before this game that the pass defense of the Bucs is terrible. That's where you're going to be able to attack this team. That's where they were able to attack him. I mean, he had almost 350 yards through the air. I mean, he had very good moments and he was productive, and there was a lot of wide open receivers, and Arthur Smith was kind of scheming things up in that pass game, but it's just the turnovers, and it's every single week. And we keep saying, oh, he's not going to make that mistake again. Well, he keeps doing it, and he keeps doing it, and he keeps doing it. And at a certain point, you're just like, how much longer are we going to go on with this guy? Do we just give him the next 4 games? Does he get to start the next season as the starting quarterback? I mean, what are we going to do this offseason? And I don't know. Yeah. I think me and Alex are both on the board that if he doesn't, play spectacularly over the next 4 games or whatever, maybe 5 games if we have a playoff game, I mean, they have to go out there and make a big move for a quarterback this offseason, because we're going into year 4 now, and I don't know how much longer the leash for Fontenot, for Smith, or whoever, how long it is anymore.
I want to say one thing real quick, and I'll jump it to you, Miles, that I think both things can be true. That Arthur Smith isn't necessarily helping out Ridder, but Ridder is also not being the solution. He is also actively, hurting this team in moments. And again, it goes back to the inconsistency. And that has been, I think, the theme of the season for this Falcons offense is the inconsistency. I do want to end on 2 light notes, and then I'll throw it to you. Drake London is a superstar. I mean, this guy is just waiting for a good quarterback, a consistent quarterback, and this guy's going to blossom into one of the best receivers in the league. And Jesse Bates is the best Falcons defender I've seen since John Abraham. I mean, that guy consistently shows up. What a free agent sign.
Oh man. Yeah, no, I know. And I think a big thing with Dez is, look, you've had almost a full season worth of games of him now to assess, because for the longest time it's been, okay, I mean, he's still basically a rookie. He's only started 4 games. He's only started 6 games, 8 games. Well, he took over with 4 games left last year, and now you have 4 games left this year. You have basically a full season's worth of sample sizes. And as you said, as far as picking another quarterback is concerned, how many times do you see a head coach get to work with, what has it been now, 4 different quarterbacks? I mean, that's not very common. You've got Matt Ryan, Mariota, Ridder, Heineke, back to Ridder to potentially go on a 5th one. Like, you don't see that leash get very long in the NFL when it comes to picking that many quarterbacks. And I mean, I don't want to say you missed on Matt Ryan. I think there were other circumstances going on there, but to have that many swings at guys, it's just not very common. So I think that if we're talking about what I think, I guess maybe they're going to lean towards next year, if the inconsistency stays, which that's been the theme of the season so far for these next 4 games, I think you have to make a move at quarterback, whether that move is in the draft or in free agency. I'm leaning towards, I think it's going to be towards free agency, just because I think that because of the circumstances that are there with how long they haven't been playing well, I don't know if Arthur Smith will feel, or Terry Fontenot or Arthur Blank for that matter, will feel they have the patience to maybe develop another guy. Like, you draft whoever's there in the first round, you're going to be picking relatively low compared to all these other quarterback needy teams, like, a Michael Penix Jr. or a Jaden Daniels, maybe guys like that. But I mean, Jaden, for instance, I think maybe it will improve his draft stock based on what's been going on with him. But you're going to get the low end quarterbacks that you're going to have in the draft, like the JJ McCarthy's of the world, the Bo Nixes, maybe, like that's going to be where you're going to be looking at that point.
Don't put that on us.
Exactly. I'm just saying, like with how good you've been this year, winning 7 to 8 games where it's looking like, that's going to be your ballpark. So
I tend to agree that it's going to come of the pro personnel side, and whether that's free agency or a trade. That's what I think. I'm not saying that's what I want. Obviously, you know what I want. This isn't me and Chase have made our feelings very well known. What I think they'll do, and this is obviously assuming there's not some unforeseen improvement from Desmond Ridder, which, it is possible. It could certainly happen. Let's just say the likelihood of that happening is very small. So I do think that, to your point, they will go the pro personnel route, whether it's free agency. So a guy like Kirk Cousins, maybe he doesn't want to return to Minnesota. He sees all these weapons in Atlanta. He goes, I can work with that. Mm-hmm. Or, a trade via, one of the other teams who are going to draft Caleb Williams or Drake May, the Bears, Justin Fields. If it's Kyler Murray, that seems a little less likely. But maybe they go that route. I don't know what they will do. I have a feeling I agree with you. I side with you that they'll go the pro personnel route.
Yeah, I think it just seems the most. Sorry, Chase. Yeah, it just seems like the most logical sense.
Well, I think the right move is getting a new quarterback in the building, but I think the move that can potentially save their job is getting a free agent that can come in and help you win now. Because, like you said, how much longer really is this leash? Like, if they come and develop a guy and go 7-10, I mean, they're probably out the door this time next year if they do that. And with a rookie quarterback, you really don't know what you're going to get. So, right move, I would go. Finally draft a guy high in the draft. What they'll probably do, like you said, Miles, I think free agency. Miles, thank you so much for joining us. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about Juan Soto and Ronald Acuña's potential contracts following the Shohei Ohtani bombshell.